created to have some fun together, sharing and singing. So, join and enjoy.
Our love for opera brings us together. Thanks for being with us in this trip.
Hello, hello, hi, hi. Thank you very much for joining us for another program here in Opera We Love Singing. It's been a couple of weeks that we hadn't been with you, but please remember that we were recovering ourselves. Me from an ear problem and Katia for for a multitude of problems that derive from her teeth removal. So everything went horribly wrong. Thanks God. Fortunately, she's already in a good level of recovery, still suffering of some of the consequences of it. And I am pretty sure she never expected this to happen when she was thinking of her teeth and attending the dentist. Remember also that when a singer is unable to sing, this is virtually the most horrible thing that can happen to a singer. So that's pretty much where Katia comes from. And for that reason, she will be mostly singing, speaking very little. And I am going to be handling the best part of it, which is mostly speaking and not singing. And as I was sharing with her, approving and disapproving with my nodding of the head and saying, oh, no, no, this can't be possible. Or yes, yes, it was very good. So that will be my job today. And as you may have already noticed in our title for today, in the past programs we have devoted more than we have devoted the past programs not for specifically opera. This time, yes, we are going back to the opera, but again, we are taking into account a gender that is somehow not very much often sung on stage, given a number of reasons that we would like to share with you as we progress in the program. But there is something around this music. I was sharing in the description of the video the early stages of the opera. If we are already calling it opera, the very first representations of theater and music. That's what this period is about. Sometimes referred as Baroque or the early stages of opera that we will be describing you shortly. For that purpose, Katia has prepared for today a few numbers of this period, which I was telling you is very, very, very interesting. Not only because the orchestration is different, the plots or the librettos tend to be much simpler than the very contradictory and difficult of the recent ones. But there is still this very nice sound that the music of this period is part of. There is also something around students who want to actually sing that are given these parts to make them part of the repertoire. But of this and a lot more, we will be talking about. And since we are following Katia's orders, if I remember well, you will start by sharing with us the Lascia Chiopianta. Am I correct? That's where we are starting with. This is a very, very, very famous, hyper famous piece of music written by Georg Friedrich Händel. Händel, who is also a master himself. A lot of the development of the opera has to do with what he actually wrote in the beginning of it. But let's stop talking because remember that I like talking too much, and let's go for the music and let's thank Katia for making this effort of joining us today.
Lascia io pianga la cruda sorte e che sospiri
this could be one of the saddest, because one thing about the Baroque is that there are many songs that are nicely beautiful, but many are nicely beautiful but are sad. And this one of Lascia che pianga, Please Let Me Cry, because my destiny, my fortune is so sad, so dark. It has to be sung in such a way, and I would like you to share us with us a little of your thoughts behind how this must be sung. But before we get there, I wanted to share that there is many people who think that this repertory is very old, which is true if we compare it to the most recent operas, but they use it not as a describer of time, but as a describer of antiquette for a given technique of singing which is old-fashioned, for singers who have limited capabilities, limited voices. So they say, "Oh, your voice is not strong enough for Puccini or Verdi. Go and sing Baroque." uh, as if singing Baroque would be that easy. But tell us a little about the difficulties of singing. We will also talk a little later ahead about the virtuosism in this period, which also has lots of it. But keeping that it doesn't have a thousand cadenzas, thrills, and all those ornaments does not mean that this is an easy part. But share with us a little of the difficulties you find in the interpretation and from the vocal technique perspective for this piece.
Yes. Well, if you want to be a real singer, you have to study a lot and understand Baroque in all its context. It's not easy music at all, like you just mentioned, because you have to notice to take advice that it is the music has like very clear periods, and it means different types of working and approaching and abording the genres, the different kind of genres. When you're singing Baroque, you have to understand that we are seeing the first opera, and it means a lot of things. It means that the main themes, for example, it's about mythology. We are taking lots of themes from the Greek mythology, Greek Roman mythology. We are recovering things from the Greek theater, and the opera is in many cases not structured as Mozart or Verdi or Rossini or Puccini. It's the early age uh, of the opera. Uh, the vocal work, it's also in their early age. They're start their The voices are coming from the Gregorian chant, where the voice is very pure, not vibrating, not virtuosistic, like in bel canto, for example. But we have an interesting work here in Baroque, because you have the same area, uh, but you have to sing it in different way. That's the freedom and the responsibility, because you have to sing the first part as is written, then you sing a contrast part, and then you re-expose the first part, but singing variations. But you have to respect the style and the genre and the time where it was written. So you can make a trill, for example, as you sing a trill in Mozart. So it's complicated.
It is, and tell us a little about how you feel when you sing this repertory.
Well,
What does it carry to your mind or to your voice? You feel comfortable, or what are the sensations of you as a singer when you sing it?
Yes, I feel comfortable because it is pretty much virtuosistic actually. You have to have a very light voice, and you have to work with a lot of line. So these are things that I skills that I have been working on my voice. And I mean, it's not Olympia, it's not the Queen of the Night, but it's virtuosistic too, a lot. So you have to flow. I've shared with all of you, for example, Tornami a Vaguejar.
Yes.
Please, it's not an easy piece of music at all. Probably you don't find so many high notes, but let's remember that music and its complications, it's not only about high notes. If you want to sing Baroque, you have to sing really fast because there are lots of ornaments. Let's remember that Baroque is the fear of the empty. So the music is plenty of I forgot adornos.
Ornaments.
There are lots of ornaments. Thank you. So you have to work a lot in your agilities, for example, if you want to sing Baroque.
And not only, if you allow me, not only it has a very particular type of virtuosism and ornaments, it also, as it is the case of bel canto, it really demands a singer with a very solid technique. For some reason, it is given
Of course.
to students who are just starting their career, but since this gender, this school, I would rather say this school of the Baroque needs a perfect pitch, perfect intonation, perfect use of the breath, perfect diction, perfect attack of the consonants, an extraordinary legato. I mean, all of that is not what a beginner singer would usually have. So it is usually given because they
No.
say, well, there are not very high notes, there are not many low notes, so any singer could do it. But if you want to do it well, it really doesn't take just any singer. It takes a great singer to work on those pieces. And I wanted also to use your comment, not only because I am comfortable on the first row of the seats, enjoying to these pieces today, but there is a reason for that, and it doesn't have to do with the fact that I sang too much the last two programs. It has to do with the fact that in this period of opera, the voices of tenors were irrelevant. Most of the cases,
Always.
well, Katya says that that is still the case, but more in those centuries, there was not much to do around the voice of a tenor. They would be very secondary to anything. The technique and what those voices could do, no one really cared. But
Well, not even sopranos.
and that's what
Let's
I
be
was
honest.
getting there. Yeah, it was because the castrati were the superstars. But let's remember that the castrati were, and we never, I mean, at least in the past century, we never had a chance of keeping uh, good number testimonies, recorded testimonies of how they sounded. You can read history, and it is said that you have to imagine the brightness of a soprano voice with the steadiness of a male voice. Put them both together in a blender, insert agilities, and that would be a castrato. That is not what a tenor can do. That is not what a soprano can do. They can do both things separately, but never together
It's not
because
what a mezzo can do.
not even a mezzo. And recently, there was a movie, Farinelli something, because Farinelli was one of the most famous castrati, and there are areas just like the ones that Katia is bringing for us today. And in fact, it is the case of the following one, because if I remember well, Anto Jove is part of that movie, and it took the voice of Cecilia Bartoli along with the voice of countertenor, and they mixed two or three voices together to try to reach the what we think or suppose that it was how those voices sounded. And given that that I would say what they could people who attended those recitals, those concerts, or those operas, they listened to a sound that never later was heard again. But if we take in mind that the castrati suffered in the earliest, in fact, that's why they were called castrati because they were actually castrated so that they would never develop or change the voice into a male one. So the price of success was very, very, very high. Moreover, when you think that it was their families who put them into that role and that they were mainly victims. So
Yeah.
it is of course a virtuosism, but it is based on the atrocity of hurting another human being. To be fair.
And it is brutal because in many cases, boys were castrated, and even they didn't develop a virtuosistic voice, so it was for nothing.
Yeah, and that
Ugh.
was even worse. Yeah, just imagine that your family decided to make you go through that, and at the end, your voice was not what they expected. Horrible suffering for those human beings. And that's what humans can do sometimes to get the pleasure and the fun and what they want. But let's get back to the music. I recalled it well. It is Alto Jove, what we will be listening now. You're singing that,
Yeah,
right? And that is another very very interesting piece because not only, as I was mentioning, I recall that it is part of the Farinelli movie, but also because sometimes here and there, I mean. There are many Hollywood movies that when they play a scene that is serious or somebody that is rich, there is always in the background the voice of singing mostly Baroque that is heard. That is usually how Hollywood pictures these kind of pieces. And let's stop the talking and let's allow Katia to share with us this magnificent piece of music which, if I remember well, it was written by Porpora. Yeah, by Nicola Porpora.
that's right.
Yeah, let's thank Katia for sharing this one with us.
Alto Giove, e tua grazia, e tua me.